Welcome to Coffee and Discipleship. Good to be back this week. I hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful start of the week. The weather is changing where I am. It's starting to get cooler. It's getting dark a whole lot earlier. It's a good time for you to, get your favorite coffee. Maybe you're not a coffee person and you're into tea. I know this channel, we do coffee and discipleship, but I will say that during the Advent season, I'll be doing tea that whole time. So during the Advent season, as I do tea, I normally don't drink coffee during Advent, just, something I do personally. So during that particular season that begins in December, I'll let you guys know what tea I'm drinking. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure my wife will have some wonderful suggestions as she is a prolific tea drinker. So I'm looking forward to that time, and I'll bring you all on that journey. Today, I will have another coffee in the description for you all to try. I'm drinking through my cup today in my whimsical Star Wars mug with Master Yoda on it. So hope you are enjoying your cup. Have a couple of bags that I'm working my way through. So I'll make sure that I put today's coffee in the description. In addition to that, I'm going to start letting you guys know what books I'm reading as we're going through. Oftentimes I get asked the question, hey, what book are you reading? What are you into? Give me a good book to read. I have 3 books sitting in front of me right now. These books, 2 of them are actually by the same author, are not necessarily church books, as I will put into air quotes. But I believe that a good student should be well-rounded in their reading. I've actually read all 3 of these, and I'm about to start going through a second read of them. So the first 2 are by an author by the name of Ryan Holiday. He writes on the virtues. This one, Stillness is the Key. Great book if you have not read that. The second one, this was actually my introduction to Ryan Holiday. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. Also, wonderful, wonderful writing. And one of my favorites, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I have recommended that book to several people. That Essentialism book, one of the things that it introduced me to is the disciplined pursuit of less in juxtaposition to the undisciplined pursuit of more. So the disciplined pursuit of less in contrast or in juxtaposition to the undisciplined pursuit of more. So if you are looking for some things to read, those are 3 great suggestions. And some may say, oh man, you need to put those in the description so we can get that from your Amazon affiliates and all of those wonderful things. But as we're building this channel, I'm not quite there yet. You have to have particular numbers in order to get your Amazon affiliates and, your YouTube channel things. But I still want to recommend these books to you. If, however, you want to really support this work, support what's going on in this channel, I tell you what I can do right away. I'm not going to be doing special Patreon only videos, but you can sign up. I'll have a link to Patreon where you can sign up and you can support this work via Patreon. Eventually that may expand. I may do some special things for Patreon. I haven't got that far yet, but what you can do if you want to support what you see, if these videos are making a difference to you, you can sign up in Patreon and it will allow me to continue to do this. God has just been amazing in this journey. And so if you want to do that, you can do that in the link below. All right. Oh, one more thing. Make sure that you are following me on the socials. My kids will get me if I don't put that out there. I'll put the links also below to my socials where you can follow. All right. Cool. So we have been going through this premise. We started with church hurt. I really felt led as we began this channel to begin with, being hurt and people who say they've been hurt by the church. And we've been working through that. But we've also come to understand that the Lord wants to heal. And I've spent, a few weeks. If this is your first time in this, at the channel, I recommend you go backwards, kind of follow along with us so that you can get to this point. But I've given you kind of a framework, and I'm trying to do this in small segments, just small chunks. Many of you have told me that you listen to these videos during your lunch break. I'm grateful for that you are allowing me a moment into your lives. But I've given you a framework, a pathway, if you will, to get to the place of healing. And it is community, conversation, and confession. 3 C's. Community, conversation, and confession. From a pathway perspective. And we've dealt with that community. We've dealt with the conversation. Today, we're going to deal with confession. Now, let me say this about this 3C framework. When you are working on community, you are finding your people. You're finding your people like in precious faith. That conversation, you are finding common ground. Hey, what do you like? What are you into? What are your hobbies? What are your likes? You're finding common ground. And then that third confession, you're finding the truth. I want you to see, as I have, given you those 3 things, that this is all a road to discovery. Healing is about discovering your way or moving your way back on this road to health. The scripture talks about there's a broad and there's a narrow road. And healing oftentimes is 100%, on that narrow road. I can't even say oftentimes. Healing is on the narrow road because that broad path, it's easy to stay, upset, angry. It's easy to stay in that place. It's easy to continue to operate in bitterness or unforgiveness or any of those number of things. It's easy. It's not good for you, but it's easy to do so. So notice as we walk through this that it's a discovery thing. And so I got to find my people. I got to find them. And then I have to find common ground. Then I got to find the truth. And hear that, find the truth. Now, I didn't say find a truth. I didn't say find your truth as has become common, but find the truth. Because really for the believer, for the born again, and scripturally, the truth is not relative. It's not. The truth is the word, not a word. The truth is the word according to scripture. And the Bible also says, you'll know the truth and the truth will make you free. Please understand, the Lord doesn't want you to stay in a hurt place. It's not what he wants. I come that you might have life and have that life more abundantly, not in pain. And I need those of you who have been following me, if that hasn't got in you yet, just stop the video, come back later, and I need you to think about this reality. Think about the love of God. He doesn't want me to stay hurt. That's not what God wants. He wants you to have life and he wants you to have it more abundantly. But you got to find your people. You got to find your common ground and you got to find the truth. And that truth is the word. So it's not relative. You're not going to find it anywhere else. You can try, but you can find facts. Facts, but the truth is the word. So when I talk about confession, 3 things should come to mind biblically: admission, acknowledgement, and agreement. Admission, acknowledgement, and agreement. So when I'm trying to confess, I'm admitting, I'm acknowledging, and I'm agreeing. And we'll talk about, these in other terms a little bit later. But you are admitting what happened, who did it, admitting where you fell into it. You are acknowledging what happened, who did it, and what part you had to play. And you're coming into agreement with the truth of God, right? In all of those areas. When you're hurt, because remember, I'm not going to bypass, overlook, belittle, minimize your hurt. When you are hurt, the comfort that pain seeks is not always rational, and it is certainly not always righteous. I'll do it again. When you are hurt, the comfort that pain seeks is not always rational, and it is certainly not always righteous. When I teach on pain, I often tell people that pain does two things immediately. Pain seeks comfort, and pain asks the question why. But that comfort that pain is looking for, it is not always rational, and it is certainly not always righteous. So that initial, make the pain stop. That initial feeling, make it stop. Those actions are normally not healing actions. They're preservation actions. Those actions are normally not, let me get to healing. It is, let me, preserve myself. Let me, get to a place where this can just stop. If you can, write this down somewhere or remember this or tag this video, whatever you got to do. Stopping the bleeding does not always heal the wound. Matter of fact, it never heals the wound. Stopping the bleeding in and of itself does not heal the wound. If I cut myself right now and I stop the bleeding, I'm still cut. Healing is not stopping the bleeding. Stopping the bleeding is a step. But stopping the bleeding does not always heal the wound. And I want you to think about that for a second. I can remember being a little boy and my grandmother was in the kitchen and she was cooking. And, she had that old school butcher knife, the big one with the wood handle. I remember, I can visualize that butcher knife now. And she cut her finger and she cut a vein. And it was the craziest thing because I remember I could see, the blood is because when you cut a vein, that's a serious type of situation. She cuts a vein and she grabs it and she's in the kitchen and she's grabbing it. And, that's all she's focusing on is stopping the blood. And she immediately takes the towel that was stuffed in her apron pocket and wrapped it around there and tied it tight. Okay? Now, that wound is still there. And that action of tying that tight, I'm trying to immediately stop this blood from going everywhere, but she's not healed yet. There were some other steps that needed to be taken. But many of us, we immediately, boom, and we fixate on the pain. We try to stop it. We can even, get it tied up tight and stop the initial bleeding, but we're not healed. There's still work that needs to be done. See, confession is about healing the wound. Let me give you a couple of questions. I want to give you for your healing journey, for you to take away from this video. And because again, by this point, you should know what it means to find your people. You should know what it means to find your common ground in terms of, conversation. But here's a couple of questions, 3 to be exact, when it comes to, getting to the place of finding truth or confession. 1, what exactly hurt you about what happened? Now I know that I've been talking about church hurt, but what these principles that I'm giving you apply to all pain. What exactly hurt you about what happened? Telling the story, listen to this, telling the story does not pinpoint the trauma trigger. Telling the story doesn't pinpoint the trauma trigger. Some of us have told the story so many times that we've learned to leave out the pain sources and only expose the parts of the story that we've become numb to. We've learned to leave out the real stuff and only expose the parts that we have enough confidence and numbness and even strength to tell. But the first thing in terms of confession, in terms of truth, what exactly hurt you about what happened? Let me say this too in this point. When you're telling a story from person to person to person, and that story is sometimes getting modified or whatever it is, you'll find yourself getting frustrated with the people that you're telling the story to because you're expecting them to know what part of that thing hurt you, when the truth is that you're not even adequately exposing the exact part that hurt you. So you find yourself getting more and more frustrated and making statements like nobody gets it, nobody understands, all because when we're telling our story of pain, we cannot expect people to automatically clue in on the exact trigger that caused that pain. You got to be able to pinpoint it. And to pinpoint it, you're going to have to sit with it and be truthful about it. All right? Now, healing is not about ignoring. Healing is about being able to say, it hurts right here. It hurts right here. So what exactly hurt about what happened? Number two. Who exactly hurt you? Now let's go back to number one. I said, what exactly hurt you about what happened? So, the thing that actually hurt me is this, but then who? If you're not honest at that second question, you'll default to these blanket absolute statements. So the church, right? The job, my family. Okay? And I hope somebody's hearing me. No. Pinpoint that thing. It wasn't the church. It was that person. Because when you make it the church, now you have discounted God's entire bride because an individual who said they represented the bride has done something to you. Who exactly did it? Who? It's not all men. It's not all women. It's not everybody in your whole job. It's not your entire family. It's not the entire church. Who? I made this mistake as a leader. Early on when I had one particular individual that did something wrong, and I reprimanded the entire team because I didn't have the guts to have a conversation with the individual. So who did it? You are taking the easy, non-healing route of refusing to pick your aggressor out of a lineup, if you will, when you won't pinpoint down to the truth of who. Because when I pinpoint down to who, now I know where the conversations need to take place, where the forgiveness needs to take place, where the reconciliation needs to take place. Who do I need to conversate with? Here's number 3, and this is by far the hardest. Here's the hardest. Did you have any part to play? Oh boy. Did you have any part to play? Excuse me, they hurt me. I'm not saying they didn't. But did you have any part to play? This one is often the most difficult, but admitting our own failure does not abdicate any other party. I can tell the truth about what I did while what the other parties did remains true. It doesn't abdicate that. What it should do, however, when I'm honest about my part, what it should do is provide perspective, right? It provides perspective. When I say perspective, it frames the situation in truth and not in pain. When I'm willing to admit my stuff, I am framing the circumstance in truth and not in pain. Because pain is gonna say, no matter what, this is how you should feel about that person, about that institution, about your family, about your job, about all women, about all men, about marriage, about having kids, about whatever, about the church. No. What part did you play? Because now I can frame the circumstance in the truth and not just in the pain. That doesn't say you're not hurt. It doesn't abdicate them. It doesn't let them off the hook. That's not that. But you gotta be honest about what part you played, because sometimes when we get hurt, we put ourselves in hurtful circumstances. So the answers to those three questions, and I challenge you guys who are listening to this episode, just go back, sit with these for a while. So when you get these answers, it allows you to pinpoint where your pain points are, to pinpoint the true offenders, and to pinpoint the true circumstances. Now, once you get here, now I can start working through the true pain in a safe space. I'm going to work through the true pain in a safe space with the help of the Lord. I'm going to work through true forgiveness, because now I know who I need to talk to. I know what party or parties I need to deal with. I can work through true forgiveness and true reconciliation in a safe space with the help of the Lord. See, when it's everybody, I'm actually opening myself up to the guilt of accusing the innocent. When you start making these blanket statements, when you know it's not everybody, but you don't have enough have enough guts to say who it is, you're opening yourself up to the guilt of accusing the innocent. It's not everybody, it's that. Okay? But once I pinpoint that, because I'm finding truth here, once I got there, now I know who I need to forgive, who I need to speak to, who I need to reconcile with, who I need to release bitterness from. And let me say this too, guys, as you're listening to me. Some of us put ourselves in circumstances to get hurt by someone else because we haven't dealt with the hurt from somebody else that put us in the mindset of that circumstance, right? Many of us are carrying all of this stuff from our history. We're the sum total of everything we've been through, and we never deal with that past stuff. And it keeps compounding and making us different people, not making us better people, not transforming us into the image and likeness of Christ, not discipling us, but instead damaging us, okay? And so we come to the next relationship, we come to the next job, we come to the next church with all of that damage, and now we see everything through the lens of the damage, and we've never dealt with the thing that damaged us before, and now we're making accusations in this new space that everybody is wrong but us, instead of us admitting that I got a lot of stuff that I haven't dealt with. You see? So here it is. We come to this new place where nobody's doing anything wrong, but we're real accusatory because we're fragile. Now, the fragility that we currently have is not their fault. And I'm not saying that the fragility that we have is undeserving or any of that type of stuff. But the fragility, you cannot attribute your fragility caused by others to your new group, to your new people. And if you really find your people, if you really find your community, they'll bring that to the surface and say, listen, I'm not sure where you got that from, but you didn't get it from here. And somebody who's listening to me now, maybe you'll never acknowledge it. But listen, guys, we have treated some people really, really bad because we never dealt with the pain that we feel from being treated bad. Got to deal with that. All right? So we work through the true pain in a safe space. We work through true forgiveness in a safe space, all with the help of the Lord. And we work through our own choices, our poor choices in a safe space, all with the help of the Lord. The Lord wants to help you. The Lord wants to help you. And he will if you let him. The Lord wants to help you. And he will if you let him. Community, conversation, confession. Find your people, find your common ground, find the truth. That's what you got to do. That's the road. That's how we get to healing. You got to put our work in. As one friend of mine said, plan your work and work your plan. All right. And that work and that plan is outlined in the scripture. And that's what we're going to do in this channel. We're going to keep working at it. I thank you. I hope something is being said in these brief nuggets that's helping you, that's transforming you, that's challenging you. All right? This week, find someone to just sit down and have your cup of coffee with. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you and give you peace. This is my prayer.